Yes, Jyoti, you can start with the class.
Okay, I think people have logged in, so please we'll start the class. And today's topic is soft tissue sarcomas. One of the important topics. See, actually, the carcinomas rule the world of oncology, but soft tissue sarcoma, they are mainly concerned with the surgical domain. So, as surgeons, it is the surgery sometimes, or most of the time, in 99% of the cases, unless it has gone to palliative stage, surgery forms the mainstay of treatment. So, the soft tissue sarcomas is concerned mainly with the surgeons, and it's very important for you to identify how to rule out different conditions, how to differentiate between the other benign conditions, benign tumors like abscess, hematoma, lipoma, liposarcoma, how to differentiate the different clinical scenarios, how to arrive at a diagnosis, and how to manage, where to spare the limb, where you have to go for radical procedures. So, all this will depend on your correct diagnosis and your approach towards a case of soft tissue sarcoma. In this class, I'm going to exclude the bony tumors because it comes under the domain of orthopedics. So bony sarcomas, I'm excluding from this class. Okay, so let's start with the soft tissue sarcoma. If you am going very fast or anything you want, please stop me at any stage you want. Okay, so coming to the general features. So as you all know, carcinomas arise from the epithelial tissue, whereas these arise from the mesenchymal tissue. As the word suggests, sarcomas, sarcos means flesh. Okay, so these are fleshy looking tumors. These arise from the mesenchymal tissue. Incidence wise, they are less in incidence compared to the carcinoma. So carcinomas constitute around 85 to 90% of the malignancies, whereas sarcomas have lesser incidence compared to the carcinomas. And these are most commonly, unfortunately, seen in young age, or they can have bimodal presentation. So a sarcoma in a middle-aged individual, we have a certain other differential diagnosis in our mind. But whenever this any heart growth is seen, or so if at all it happens in a younger population, you have to keep in mind, you have to rule out sarcomas. They can have bimodal presentation. Compared to carcinomas, these are much aggressive. So these are fast growing, painless. So the patient tend to neglect the symptoms and come in a last stages. So these are much aggressive. They usually occur in younger population, and they are rapidly progressive. Okay, suddenly, so there will be initially there might be a slow growing tumor. Suddenly, over a period of days to months, they can rapidly progress to attain a huge size, and the patient can come even with the secondary changes like skin ulceration and so on and so forth. Okay, it depends on the type of sarcoma. And as the name itself suggests, they are fleshy in appearance, and more probably or more aptly said, like they appear like a fish flesh. Okay, so they appear on cut section or gross appearance. They appear as a fish fleshy in appearance, and they spread by hematogenous route. There are certain exceptions which I am coming shortly, and there is no in situ stage. So carcinomas, if you compare, they first initially they do not invade the basement membrane. They undergo dysplasia, metaplasia, anaplasia, and then they undergo neoplasia. So there will be in situ carcinoma, and then that will progress to invasive carcinoma. But it is not like that. So most majority of the sarcomas from the beginning they are a villain. Okay, so there is no in situ stage, and they happen like invasive sarcomas. Okay, there are certain exceptions for sarcomas which spread by lymphatic route. For example, this can be, I already, your ma'am has told in the previous classes, you can remember as a mnemonic scare, okay? Or races, that's the mnemonic, okay? S, synovial sarcoma, chondrosarcoma or clear cell sarcoma, angiosarcoma, rhabdomyosarcoma, especially alveolar type, okay, which is commonly seen in children, okay? Then epithelioid sarcomas, Ewing sarcoma. Ewing sarcoma usually spreads by hematogenous route, but certain varieties, certain variants of Ewing sarcoma can also have this lymphatic route spread, and also lymphangiosarcomas, certain varieties, certain subtypes. So certain subtypes of Ewing's and lymphangiosarcoma also spread by lymphatic route. By conventionally, all the sarcomas spread by hematogenous route. Okay. Coming to the epidemiology, so they constitute around 1% of the adult malignancy. So it can be any malignancy, but look at the small incidence. So it is just 1% of all adult malignancies, and they constitute around 15 to 20% of the pediatric malignancy. The most common malignancies seen in children is usually leukemias, hematological malignancies, and we have to tell about different the differential diagnosis are most common. Coming to the most, so it is 35 to 37% of these sarcomas will occur in the lower limb. So the most common site of soft tissue sarcomas is lower limb, usually that to thigh. Thigh is the commonest site, and they constitute around 35 to 37% of soft tissue sarcomas. They occur in lower limb. 15 to 20% in the retroperitoneum. So if you come in the descending order, lower limb, retroperitoneum, upper limb, and rest of the sides. So they can occur on abdomen, trunk, on the anterior aspect of the posterior aspect of the trunk, or head and neck region. So the rest of all, it constitutes less than 15 to 20%. So the most common is lower limb, that to thigh, okay, and then retroperitoneum, upper limb, and rest of the sides of the body. Coming to continuing the most commons, okay. If you remember the most commons, you can arrive at a diagnosis at a faster pace, okay. This STS stands for, I'll be addressing soft tissue sarcomas as STS in the subsequent slides, okay. The most common soft tissue sarcoma in Indian statistics is liposarcoma, okay. Next, equally, almost coming to the equal incidence, that is 18 to 20% are malignant fibrous histiocytoma. If you take Western data, they mention MFH, that is malignant fibrous histiocytoma, as the most common adult soft tissue sarcoma. But Indian statistics, the liposarcoma is the most common according to the Indian statistics, and equal instance is malignant fibrous histiocytoma. Whereas GIT related sarcoma, the most common one is leiomyosarcoma, arising from the smooth muscle cell, okay, common cells, okay. Next, rhabdomyosarcoma is the commonest soft tissue sarcoma in children. So if you take soft tissue sarcoma, which is most common in children is rhabdomyosarcoma, whereas it is liposarcoma in case of adults, okay. If at all there is any myocardial sarcomas, it is the angiosarcoma that is most common. Then skin and HIV individuals, it is Kaposi sarcoma. And then head and neck region, it is the angiosarcoma, that is the most common soft tissue sarcoma in the head and neck region. If you take specific sites of origin, okay, it is the head and neck, it is angiosarcoma. So remember, in children, rhabdomyosarcoma, in adults, it is liposarcoma. The next most common is malignant fibrous histiocytoma, okay. What is the etiology? There are certain genetic factors, there are certain chemical factors, physical factors, and post-irradiation. There are many reasons why these sarcomas occur. Yes, you can interrupt me. Any doubt? Doctors, any doubt? You can interrupt me at any stage. Okay, if you want, I will proceed. Okay. So most common predisposing conditions or genetic conditions are, one is neurofibromatosis with chromosome 17, retinoblastoma gene, okay. So that present on the chromosome 13, Leigh-Fromani syndrome. So most commonly associated things are P53 and chromosome 70. So chromosome 17, 13 are very, very important even for the other carcinomas, if you remember, okay. I'm not going into much details. Boneville disease, okay. Next is for rhabdomyosarcoma. Boneville disease sometimes predisposes for rhabdomyosarcoma and also angiolipomas, and ionizing radiation predisposes to malignant fibrous histiocytoma. And the most common after mastectomy, after 4 to 5 years or 10 years even, this lymphangiosarcoma can develop in post-mastectomy patient, usually involving the same upper limb. So if the lady has undergone right mastectomy, usually the right lymphangiosarcoma of that limb is most common. So post mastectomy, the most common sarcoma after mastectomy is lymphangiosarcoma. There are certain chemical substances which can lead to development of these sarcomas, like arsenic, polyvinyl chloride, pesticides, thorostats, even our radiological contrast material. If the person is repeatedly undergoing certain diagnostic procedures or certain therapeutic procedures, they also predispose to certain soft tissue sarcoma. So a detailed history, family history, and then exposure to these agents have to be obtained in detail from a patient with any soft tissue swelling. What are the clinical features? What are the general clinical features of these sarcomas? One is they are painless. That's why the patient neglects, and it goes on to further advanced stages. And they are rapid, fast growing. So one good thing that brings the patient fast to us is they are fast growing. So suddenly it is growing, madam. So that's why I'm afraid and I've come here. So fast growing. So it is the fast growth that brings the patient most of the times to hospital, and they are painless initially unless they give certain secondary compression changes or any other edema or any skin changes. They usually go unnoticed, and unfortunately they are deep seated, so they can involve certain muscle or certain compartment. They are usually not accessible to the naked eye, especially in an uneducated patient. So they're usually deep seated, especially if there are retroperitoneal tumors. They will be neglected, and only in the final stage they'll come to us. And if there are any symptoms of compression like surrounding vascular structure or any other important structure or any invasion of the surrounding structures, so with that symptoms only the patient can come to you. Or if there are any dilated veins, so that is one of the important symptoms that brings the patient to us, like dilated veins. So something is happening and it is hard to touch. So is it any problem? So is there any problem? So or sometimes even trauma might bring the patient to you. So initially there could be any hemorrhage inside that sarcoma, and if precipitated by usually a small trauma, so that brings the patient to you. So you have to keep in mind not just hematoma, you have to keep in mind soft tissue sarcoma, and they have to be actively ruled out before declaring it to be any benign swelling. Usually they are hard and fixed masses. They are hard to touch, deep seated, and very ill delineated. They cannot be delineated. They are fixed masses. They are not so easily mobile, even on the contraction of the muscle or even on the relaxed muscle. So they're usually hard and fixed mass. And the symptoms due to the patient, if the negligence goes on, the symptoms might be just secondary. Okay, the patient might present with dyspnea, pleural effusion, hemoptysis, or any bony pain, any bony swelling, pathological fractures, or any secondaries to the liver. So the patient can directly come with the secondaries in the liver, where you should keep one of the differential diagnosis. So head to toe examination is a must in case of any patient with secondaries liver or any primary tumor. You have to search for secondaries in these sites. Okay, and loco-regional lymphadenopathy. So that might be the only symptom where the patient might be presenting to you, especially if the tumor is very deep seated, any deep muscle is involved. You are not able to palpate a primary mass. There is only regional lymphadenopathy. You have to actively search for any primary tumor. So that you have to keep in mind. And lung is the commonest site of metastasis, which throws the secondary. The most common organ involved is lung. Okay. Am I clear up to this point, doctors?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shall I continue? Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The most common site of lymphangiosarcoma is liver,
Mastectomy or
Post mastectomy.
very good. Thank you. Okay. So how the lady presents? Usually with the history of carcinoma breast or even post mastectomy. So with or without surgery, this lady can present to us usually after mastectomy, after 3 to 4 years, or even sometimes 10 years later. The patient presents with a painful swollen arm. The lady, she will literally beg, please do something, because it is very, very painful condition. There will be very tense edema and there will be frozen shoulder. Sometimes the earliest sign you can pick up, the earliest symptom, the lady says, I am not able to plait my hair. So that is the earliest symptom. You have to keep observing the arm. So just don't think that you have done mastectomy, given chemo radiation, yes, I am done. No, you have to take care of the arm also. You should also make sure in the further follow-ups, you should also rule out this condition. You should keep this condition in mind. If you develop any arm, don't brush it away as post-mastectomy lymphedema. Please also rule out this sarcoma. Okay, lymphangiosarcoma. The most common sarcoma in childhood is
Rhabdomyosarcoma,
Yes,
B.
rhabdomyosarcoma, B is the answer. If you take malignant fibrous histiocytoma, it is the second most sarcoma, most common sarcoma in adults. Rhabdomyosarcoma is the commonest soft tissue sarcoma in childhood. Leiomyosarcoma is the commonest genito and as well as GIT sarcoma, not the most common, okay? And liposarcoma is the most common STS in case of adults, not in the childhood. So by exclusion or by directing, B is the answer. Okay. All soft tissue sarcoma spread by lymphatics except
Option A. Synovial.
okay. So if you remember the mnemonic synovial sarcoma, so it is there in the scare. Rhabdomyosarcoma, yes, it is there in the R. Epithelioid sarcoma is in the E. Okay. So it is the neurofibrosarcoma. It spreads by hematogenous route, not by lymphatic. So option answer is A, neurofibrosarcoma. So, what are the investigations you have to do in a patient with soft tissue swelling? I'm not telling directly sarcoma, any differential diagnosis of soft tissue swelling. So, you have to rule out malignancy. Any patient comes to you with a fear of malignancy, your first duty is to rule out the malignancy and then only treat the condition. First is the mainstay in the diagnosis of soft tissue sarcoma is to obtain tissue diagnosis. Here, your FNAC is almost as useless as any other investigation. So, first you have to obtain a tissue specimen, especially from the, not just from the center of the tumor, from the near core of the tumor, you should obtain a tissue sample. And after obtaining the tissue sample, you have to determine what is the extent of the tumor. So, where exactly is it involving? Is it restricted to one segment, one compartment, one muscle, or group of muscles? Is there any neurovascular invasion? Is there any bony extension? Okay, so the extent of tumor has to be properly evaluated and then look for the metastasis. So, whether there are any pulmonary metastasis, hepatic, and any bony brain. So, any metastasis has to be looked for, searched for, and then other investigations, other relevant investigations. It depends on the type of the tumor. So, your other investigations, it's not only to obtain the tissue diagnosis, in order to know the extent, prognosis, immunohistochemistry, all this will come under the other investigations. First, your duty is to obtain tissue diagnosis. How to obtain it? So, incision biopsy. So, there are many methods how you obtain a tissue specimen. There are excision biopsy. If it is a small lipoma, you excise the tumor and send it for biopsy. That is called as excision biopsy. But here, most of the sarcomas require incision biopsy. That means you give an incision over the swelling, you obtain certain chunk of tissue and send it for biopsy. You will wait for the report, and depending on the report, you are going to further proceed with the treatment, further management. Then you are going to evaluate what is the extent, etc., etc. So, most important diagnostic tool is incision biopsy. There are certain principles to be followed. So, if you get a soft tissue sarcoma case in your exam, please remember these principles. One is longitudinal incision has to be preferred. See, usually in a benign swellings, we go according to the parallel to the Langer's lines. But it is not so in case of soft tissue swellings. You have to go according to the longitudinal incisions and avoid transverse incisions. Okay. Longitudinal incision along the line of the future wide excision. So if you are planning, so you have to think that it is malignancy. So in future, I am going to remove this scar part also. So where you are planning your incision, so it should be along the same line as your future incision, and it should be a longitudinal one. Preferably take shortest possible route. So if your tumor is here, you should not go from here. You take the shortest possible route from the skin so that you will not disseminate the tumor and you will reach the tumor very easily. Take shortest possible route, and there should be absolute hemostasis because they are very, very vascular. If you take an incision biopsy of sarcoma, you will press with the gauze. At least you will wait for 10 to 15 minutes. So it's not as easy as lipoma excisions. Okay, you have to sometimes sit with the patient. You cannot use cautery, so you have to keep pressure, apply pressure, or any absolute hemostasis is must in case of soft tissue sarcomas, or else the patient will have very torrential bleeding because they are very, very vascular tumors. So take shortest possible route, obtain absolute hemostasis, avoid cautery because it will distort. Your histopathological findings will not collaborate. So you should avoid cautery. You should not keep drains because any incision, any extra incision, you are giving an extra tract for the tumor dissemination. So avoid drains, absolute hemostasis. Do not distort the tissue. Respect the tissue. When you are excising the specimen, don't crush the specimen. Use your smoothest instruments. Respect the tissue. Remove the specimen. At least 1 cc of the specimen should be obtained. Sometimes don't know whether this small piece is enough. So the minimum volume of the tissue specimen should be 1 ml. So at least 2 into 1.5 into 1.5 centimeter of the specimen should be taken out, and then it has to be sent for histopathological examination. Do not raise flaps. See, like in mastectomy, we raise flaps, so upper flap, lower flap. Here you should not raise. While doing biopsy, give the incision, okay, take the shortest route, take the chunk, apply pressure, obtain hemostasis, and do not use your retractors during your incision biopsy. You should not raise flaps. You should not create another secondary tract for the tumor to disseminate. That will predispose to your future recurrence. So be careful, very careful with that procedure. Okay. So remember these principles: longitudinal, in line of the future incision, shortest possible route, absolute hemostasis, no drain, no cautery, minimal tissue handling, respect the tissue, don't raise the flap. I think you can remember at least 4 to 5 points from this. Okay. So suppose there is soft tissue sarcoma. See, it is a deep-seated one. So this is the future line. So I am going to take the incision biopsy here or wherever the shortest possible route is. So suppose the tumor is deeply located here. You have to take the incision biopsy here. And then in future, you have to remove this ellipse. So here the ellipse should come. So here the incision can be linear. So you should take this as your incision biopsy. Suppose the tumor is here. You should not give incision here. You should take shortest possible, and this is the future incision site. Am I clear? I think yes. I'll take it as yes. Okay. And then take adequate specimen. Don't let your pathologist disappoint you if the specimen not adequate. So this is the most you feel disheartened. Specimen not adequate, minimal adipose tissue noted. So like that the reports will be coming. So take adequate specimen, okay, and then plan previously. Talk to your pathologist 1 or 2 days before and plan for immunohistochemistry and then cytogenetic study. You have to counsel the patient for this cytogenetic study, especially if the patient is she is a case of a neurofibromatosis. You have to also go for cytogenetic study, plan for this immunohistochemistry, and then thoroughly evaluate the patient. Don't just evaluate the swelling, head to toe examination, and then you have to rule out certain metastasis. Yes, any doubts? Oh. No, you can interrupt me at any stage, doctors. Okay, if I'm too fast, please you can stop me. Okay. Then what are the other biopsies? So the most common which we do for benign tumors is excision biopsy. That means you are going to remove the tumor, excision. So the excised specimen will be sent for biopsy. This you can do only for a less than 3 centimeters tumor. You should be very unfortunate surgeon to encounter less than 3 centimeter swelling soft tissue sarcoma. So this happens very rarely in your clinical practice. But if at all, if you have done some excision biopsy, if you intraoperatively note that it is not a completely excised specimen and you find positive margins, you have to redo the surgery. So you have to again remove the margins. So second surgery sometimes is also at all cost. Please rule out this. I mean, don't do this excision biopsy. If you intraoperatively, if you encounter, if you suspect any, if it is ill-defined, remove margins also. Send the specimen, wait for the histopathology, report, ask the pathologist to report any positive margins, and then decide whether redo surgery is required or not. Okay. Then nowadays, We are not leaving the patients like that. We are thoroughly evaluating. So MRI is the investigation of choice for soft tissue tumors. Can anyone tell me what are the advantages of MRI? Advantages of MRI.
Non-ionizing.
Very okay. Non-ionizing. So there is no chance of ionizing radiation. Excellent. It is non-invasive, best suited for soft tissue tumors. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Ma'am, it tells us about the extent of the tumor.
Excellent. So it gives the extent. So compartment, is it related? Is it where exactly is it? What is the plane of the swelling? Is it subcutaneous, intramuscular, submuscular? How many muscles are involved? Which compartment is involved? What about the neurovascular structures? Is there any compression? Is there any ensheathing of the neurovascular structure? So entire information can be obtained by this MRI. Okay. And then it is the investigation of choice. But where do you use CT? Okay. CT is the best for retroperitoneal tumors because everything is soft tissue in the retroperitoneal region other than bones. So for this reason, CT is the best investigation for retroperitoneal tumors. Or if you suspect any bony invasion, this can be excellently obtained from the CT scan, and then you can plan for CT guided biopsy. So retroperitoneal tumors, if they are deep seated or they are nearer to the vascular structures, so for biopsy, to obtain biopsy, we use CT scan, and also it is definitely cost effective. Nowadays, CT has become the investigation of choice. So the X-ray zamana is almost gone nowadays. They are directly going for CT scan. And if at all any pre-operatively for thorough evaluation, next they are going for this MRI. So any retroperitoneal tumors, then CT guided biopsy, or any bony invasion, CT scan will become the investigation of choice, okay, in these regions. Then for metastasis, CT chest, then PET scan, okay, positron emission tomography, the active malignant foci, and then CT pelvis for any, suppose if you are suspecting any gynecological leiomyosarcomas, then you can go ahead with the CT pelvis. And then see, in the carcinomas, we usually staging is important for us, but in soft tissue sarcomas, we have to do something called as TNM. Along with that, we have to do grading of the tumor. So is it well differentiated, mild or moderately differentiated, or poorly differentiated tumor? So grading will become very, very important in case of soft tissue sarcoma along with this TNM. So the nodal status will be applicable for the sarcomas which spread by lymphatic route, not for the each and every sarcoma. So here the grading takes the main role, and then tumor size, okay, and then metastasis. So GTNM staging is the important thing. There are certain immunohistochemical markers for soft tissue sarcomas. Please try to remember at least some 6 or 7. These are, you don't have any other go other than remembering or mugging. So Desmin for sarcoma, especially arising from the smooth muscle or skeletal muscle, and it is also specific for endometrial stromal tumors. Okay, so for endometrial stromal tissue sarcoma, especially from the smooth muscle or skeletal muscle, Desmin. There is one MCQ. So what is the thing? What is the IHC marker you are going to choose for any skeletal muscle sarcomas? So it is Desmin. And for vascular sarcomas, CD34, 31 and 34, and S100. So so you have to slowly mug up these. Okay, S100 for sarcomas with neural and lipomatous things, and then chondroid differentiation. So usually neural element, when it is there, you go for S100. And then Vimentin. So this is actually a non-specific investigation. So combined with the Desmin and CD or S100, we usually combine with the other. So as such, individually, this is not a very specific IHC marker you use in clinical practice. So it is used for many sarcomas, and it is highly non-specific. Okay. Certain epithelial and membrane antigens, CD99, BCL2. So they are used for synovial sarcomas. Okay. CD117. So this I think everyone would have got by heart. For GIST, gastrointestinal stromal tumor, CD117 is the most common IHC marker. And then chondrosarcoma, 57, and vimentin. So as I told, vimentin will come is a friend of many other sarcomas. So along as an augmenting IHC, we use this. So 57 for chondrosarcoma, 99 and S100, NET and vimentin for PNET and Ewing sarcoma. So all these bony tumors, there are certain tumor markers which is out of purview of this class. And then there is something called as desmoplastic round cell tumor, for which cytokeratin CD99, NET and Desmin. So in clinical practice, most often we will be sending for Desmin, okay, CD31, 34, okay, CD117 for GIST. So these are the most commonly used in the clinical practice, or even your MCQ wise also. So these are the most common. So Desmin, 31, 34, CD117, vimentin. So these are most specific, which you ask for immunohistochemical markers. So which for suspected soft tissue sarcomas. So am I with you till now? So you take at least 5 to 10 minutes to by heart few of this IHC markers at the end of this class. Okay. There are certain classifications. So how extensively you have to excise your specimen. Okay. So there is a classification called as Enking's classification. Okay. So there are certain parts of the tumor. One is core, okay. Then there is certain a zone, another zone covering the core, and then there is an outermost zone, and there is a capsule. So let's go step by step. Intralesional excision. So in this, you are going to open the capsule, and then a part of the lesion, so the core of the lesion, you are going to excise. So there is tissue definitely left behind. There will be 100% recurrence. So this is almost absolutely obsolete nowadays. We do not do intralesional excision. That means you are going to cut open the tumor in situ, and then you are going to remove certain amount of tissue. So which is obsolete because the patient will invariably come with recurrence. There is something called as marginal excision. So this is a little bit more extensive compared to the previous one. So it is en bloc through the reactive zone. So around the core, there is something called as reactive zone. So through that zone, you are going to excise some more extensive tissue. Then wide excision. So you are going to remove the entire tumor along with the capsule and certain amount of normal tissue surrounding the tumor, with giving up to 2 centimeter margin. So if you give 2 centimeter margin, removing the tumor completely without opening the capsule, without spilling the tumor, it is called wide excision. Then radical excision. So it depends on the aggression of the tumor. It depends on the nature of the tumor, where you have to go even more than 5 centimeters beyond the original tumor size. So this is for the high grade tumors or recurrent tumors where you don't want any recurrence. So in such cases, you have to go for radical excision. There is something called as compartment resection. That means, suppose if it is involving medial aspect of the thigh, so all the medial aspect of the muscles will be removed along with the tumor. So the entire compartment is cleared. But here a good thing is you are going to save the limb. So it is not an amputation. You are not going to mutilate the patient. So it is one of the limb saving procedures, yet it gives a curative resection. And the final thing, which is the most radical one, which is amputation. You resort to amputation whenever the tumor is of high grade, or you cannot salvage the limb. You have to give proper clearance for the tumor. So in such cases, we go for complete amputation of the limb. So it depends on the where exactly is the tumor. If it is below knee or above knee, there are different amputations like below knee amputation, above knee amputation. Here we do not usually go for guillotine amputation. You would go either for below knee, above knee, or even 4/4 amputation of the entire lower limb or the upper limb. It depends on the site of the tumor. So intralesional excision means you're going to open the tumor, you're going to remove the core of the lesion, which is obsolete, 100% recurrence. Marginal excision, slightly, you are going to retain the capsule, but you are going to remove the tumor. Wide excision means Don't open the capsule, remove the tumor along with the 2 centimeter margin. Radical excision means more than 5 centimeter beyond the tumor, and then compartment resection, the entire compartment will be removed, but it's a limb saving surgery, and then go for the final thing called as amputation. Okay. Coming to the radiotherapy. See, for soft tissue tumors, the treatment or the treatment of choice is surgery. So treatment of choice is surgery. All this radiotherapy, immunotherapy, chemotherapy will come only as a palliative measure or to downgrade the, downstage the tumor. So they are not the absolute treatment of choice. So soft tissue sarcoma in the beginning of the class, I told you, it is the surgeon's domain. Okay. Radiotherapy can be given either preoperatively to make the tumor well defined, and then to delineate it, to downgrade it, you can give. But the disadvantage of preoperative radiotherapy is it makes your planes sometimes difficult. There will be a lot of bleeding, and the wound healing will be very poor if you give the radiotherapy preoperatively. That's why we usually prefer post-operative radiotherapy, especially EBRT, external beam radiotherapy is the most preferred one, that to post-operatively, because it's not going to interfere with your wound healing. And then you can label the site with your titanium clips. You can put certain indicators while doing surgery, and based on that area, you can give even brachytherapy. So you need not expose the entire limb to the radiotherapy. You can put certain markers. So this was the site of excision. So to that area, you can give brachytherapy. Okay. And then for the high grade and deep seated tumors where your resection, your doubtful resection, or there is high chance of recurrence. Okay. In that, if you don't want to take risk, you can go for chemo radiation. There is another procedure, your favorite 2 marks or 4 mark question is isolated limb perfusion. So you're going to send your chemotherapeutic agent through the artery after tying a tourniquet or giving perfusion. So you are going to give your agent only to the target site. So you're not exposing the entire body to the chemotherapeutic agent. It's also called as isolated limb perfusion therapy. So all these are almost associated with the high recurrence rate. So try to clear it off surgically as much as possible. There are certain tumors which are highly sensitive, intermittently sensitive, and they're radio resistant tumors. The highly sensitive tumors are, please try to remember these. One is synovial sarcoma, fibrosarcoma, malignant fibrous histiocytoma. So synovial, fibro, MFH. Do you remember any ovarian tumor which melts with radiotherapy? Can you name it? Just to hear your voice. It melts.
Thyroid tumor.
No, in the ovary. Most radiosensitive tumor in the ovary. It is dysgerminoma, remember. What is the most sensitive, radiosensitive bony tumor?
After some.
No, not. It is the perhaps the most radio-resistant tumor. So it is Ewing sarcoma. It is
Ewing sarcoma.
So it melts and mud. So so within 2 to 3 sittings, almost the tumor disappears. Okay. So Ewing sarcoma, dysgerminoma, seminoma, all these are very, very highly radiosensitive tumors. So in this case, it is synovial sarcoma, fibrosarcoma, and MFH are the most sensitive to radiotherapy. With intermediate sensitivity is liposarcoma, myxoid fibrosarcoma. So once you give surgical clearance, you can give radiotherapy, but they are intermediately sensitive for this. Okay, which are absolutely radio resistant. They are just okay. Almost all GI malignancies are not susceptible for radiotherapy. So along with this, GIST also forms. It is a radio resistant tumor. Leiomyosarcoma, which you most commonly seen in uterus, and then chondrosarcoma. Chondrosarcomas are also not amenable for radiotherapy. So the highly sensitive are synovial, fibro, MFH. Intermediate are liposarcoma and myxoid fibrosarcoma. And the resistant, try to remember highly and resistant. Sometimes you can rule out by exclusion. So just leiomyosarcoma, chondrosarcomas, they are radio resistant. So am I with you till now? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Coming to the individual tumors, I will not bore you. I'll just give you brief points. Okay. Liposarcoma. Liposarcoma, as I already told you, it's the most common adult sarcoma. It arises from the primitive fat cells. Okay. The most common site is thigh. Then next most common is retroperitoneum, then back, and then shoulder. Whenever you encounter any lipoma or any soft tissue swelling which mimics lipoma, keep in mind if it is in the thigh or retroperitoneum, rule out liposarcoma first, because at these areas the capsule is not well formed. They will be usually diffuse. They are not that mobile. Okay, so always keep in mind liposarcoma. Okay, they are usually well differentiated. The theory, see, when you present a case of lipoma to your lecturers, so what they say is, what are the complications of lipoma? So you answer as saponification, calcification, and very rarely liposarcoma, less than 1% of the cases. So many studies have ruled out. So liposarcoma, it is a villain from the beginning. So it arises de novo. So it starts with liposarcoma, and the lipoma converting to liposarcoma, it is very, very rare. And nowadays, the theory has been rejected also. Okay. And if it is present in the extremities, usually it will be well differentiated. Okay. It will be usually de-differentiated. Okay. In case of retroperitoneum, there are certain other varieties like myxoid liposarcoma, round cell liposarcoma, and pleomorphic liposarcoma. So these are all the usual histological variants of a liposarcoma. So most common adult sarcoma from the adipoblast. Then the sites are thigh, retroperitoneum, back and shoulder are the commonest sites, and usually it arises de novo. So if you see the histological specimen, there will be sigmoid cell lipoblasts. They are not typical adipocytes. Okay. The treatment of choice is wide excision, and if it is not well delineated, you try to remove as much tumor as possible. That is called as debulking. So enta veelaite anta. So how much ever is possible, you have to remove. Suppose if it is very diffuse and there are many neurovascular structures are getting involved, like aorta, IVC, try to remove as much tumor as possible, and then post-operatively you can go for radiotherapy as well as even chemotherapy, because they are intermediate radio sensitive tumors. So you have to give radiotherapy as well as post-operative chemotherapy if your excision is not that much clear. Okay. So this is a soft tissue sarcoma. This is just a diagrammatic representation. So this is the intralesional excision. So you are opening the capsule and trying to remove this. Okay. Then marginal excision, and then wide excision, and then radical excision. It's like you're removing the entire compartment or even the different groups of muscles. Okay. This is just a diagrammatic representation. Coming to the malignant fibrous histiocytoma. See, more than liposarcomas, we have seen MFH. So I don't know, the Indian statistics vary, but clinically, we have seen more MFH rather than liposarcoma. So what are the significant findings? One is fibrohistiocytic appearance. Okay, spindle appearance, spindle cells are seen, and it is the second most common in adults. Okay, lower limb is the most common site to be involved. And if you see the gross appearance or involvement, it is multilobular, and it involves more than one plane. So it is not like, so it can involve multiple compartments in a single limb. Okay. And it is known for its recurrence. Okay. And it is common in elderly males. Okay. It is most common in elderly males. Coming to the leiomyosarcoma, I'm just going through individual sarcomas, very few things. Okay. Coming to the leiomyosarcoma, as the name suggests, it usually arises from the smooth muscles. Okay. Common in elderly women. Whereas MFH is common in elderly males. Leiomyosarcomas are most common in elderly women. Usually the sites are retroperitoneum, viscera, and then uterus. We have seen even esophageal leiomyosarcomas, uterine, then even jejunal also, very rare. It's very, very rare in occurrence, which has caused a secondary extrinsic intestinal obstruction we have seen. So Desmin is the most common IHC stain. and unfortunately it carries very poor prognosis. They are not so well differentiated. They are usually ill differentiated, fast growing, highly spreading. Okay, by the time the patient presents to you, that is almost in the advanced stage. They are known for high recurrence and very poor differentiation. So they are the common sarcomas arising from the smooth muscle in the elderly women, GIT, uterus, Descemen, poor prognosis, high recurrence, and poorly differentiated. Rhabdomyosarcoma. As I already told you, commonest sarcoma in children. The most common sites are head and neck, upper arm, chest wall, and thigh. Recently, I have operated on chest wall rhabdomyosarcoma. So it was it was a huge tumor. I don't know why it was neglected in a 10-year-old child. And we have done wide local excision and sent the patient for chemotherapy. And radiotherapy is not that helpful for this rhabdomyosarcoma. It is more common in males, usually seen in children. Okay, but it is not a thing that it is not seen in adults. It's most commonly seen in children, but sometimes it is seen in the adults also. It is very aggressive, very fast spreading, very poor prognosis, and then because it goes neglected, and lymphatic spread is there in case of rhabdomyosarcoma. As per the mnemonic, the R stands for rhabdomyosarcoma. So it has even lymphatic involvement. It has poor prognosis and it spreads by lymphatic route. So am I with you till now? So we have read about rhabdomyosarcoma, malignant fibrous histiocytoma, liposarcoma. Okay. Then coming to Kaposi sarcoma, which you are, I think many of you would have seen in your OPDs also, this Kaposi sarcoma. Okay. What is it? What exactly is it? It is a vascular smooth muscle tumor. So it has got vascular element as well as the smooth muscle element, the vascular smooth muscle element along with the pericytes. Okay, there are pericytes in the, so these are the cells of origin. Okay, it is most common in HIV-1 rather than HIV-2. It is most common in the patients with HIV-1 positive scenarios. Okay, the most common sites involved are skin, mucous membranes, viscera. So they don't think that it is a very superficial tumor. It need not appear in deep. No, it can occur anywhere, but its most common involves is skin, mucosas like lip mucosa, gum. Okay, even hard palate, soft palate. So mucosal surfaces, and then viscera also. Okay, and it's also associated with HHV8 also. The thing is, it is not usually found in transfusion related AIDS. As we all know, there are different routes of obtaining the HIV infection or getting the HIV infection. It is either by accidental needle prick, transfusion, by homosexual, or there are different methods. Luckily, it is not seen in the individuals with transfusion related AIDS. Okay. So maybe the sarcoma thinks that these people are very innocent or something. It has shown some mercy on this transfusion related AIDS. It is most commonly seen in homosexual men as well as IV drug abusers. So it is usually seen in homosexual men and then IV drug abusers. Okay, not with the transfusion related AIDS. How do they present? They present with multiple reddish blue nodules, multiple nodules, painless nodules. Okay, you have to obtain history, and then from the history itself, sometimes you can directly go into the diagnosis. The mainstay of treatment is, since there are multiple nodules, the surgical treatment is very difficult in these cases. So usually we go for radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and also immunotherapy in these individuals. The usual chemotherapeutic agents are adriamycin, bleomycin, and vinblastine. So let's go to the MCQs. Can anyone? 65-year-old male with ill-defined swelling in the thigh. So it's not a child, so it is an adult. Ill-defined swelling in the thigh.
Option C, mixed sign.
So see here, we don't have a further clinical picture or any histopathological image. So elderly male, Can you think of anything ill-defined swelling?
Chondrosarcoma.
See, it is in the thigh. So I'm going to give you the clinical picture and histopathological picture. So in this man, see, it is involving the thigh. It is lobular. Though clinically ill-defined, somehow we are seeing something. Okay, it is slight. Some margins are seen. And can you see the empty looking cells? Do you see any spindle cells here? I don't think so. You are
No.
looking at some adipoblast like. See, with the ill-defined, with the ill history, at least from these images, we can make out that it is not probably malignant fibrous histiocytoma. It is not so much close to the joints. So the chondrosarcoma option won't come. Elderly male, okay, without spindle cells and empty looking cells, okay. These are not typical adipocytes. These are looking like adipoblasts, okay. And RMS is common in children. So by ruling out certain things, now can you change your option?
Liposarcoma.
Yeah, liposarcoma, because it is diffuse, unencapsulated, and adipoblasts in the histopathological examination. Okay. So image-based questions, they are frequently asked in your NEET exams. Okay. A 6-year-old child with a swelling as shown below, the probable diagnosis is. So it is arising from the alveoli. So it is the jaw swelling. Okay. Now let's go to the options. Rhabdomyosarcoma alveolar type, Warden's tumor, parotid abscess, and then epulis. It's very easy to answer because this class is dealing with the soft tissue sarcoma, not with any
Rhabdomyosarcoma alveolar.
sarcoma alveolar variety. Okay. So see, these are arising from the alveolar margin. So if it is a parotid abscess, you can see certain redness. Okay. And then further history you would have given. But in a child, always rule out sarcoma. And this is showing the tumor is involving the alveolar margin of the jaw. And it is not so well defined. It is very diffuse. Okay. So the probable diagnosis, especially in a child, it is rhabdomyosarcoma alveolar type. Okay. A 24-year-old man with history of IV drug abuse presents with the following picture. Multiple painless reddish blue nodules. On histopathological examination, there is vascular involvement as well as the pericytes are appearing in this. So are this going in favor of multiple hemangiomas? I don't think so. Herpes zoster. Yeah. See, we are discussing a topic. Definitely, immediately you are going for Kaposi sarcoma. 24-year-old young male with IV drug abuse means immediately your pencil or your mouse will go towards this option. Let's consider these options out as we are in learning stage, not giving exam. Okay. So these are definitely not multiple hemangiomas. Okay. And then herpes zoster, it involves a neural segment. So a segment, a single nerve, along with that segment, you can see multiple painful blister-like lesions. Definitely it is not AML, because AML, it will go slightly in a certain younger population. Okay. The typical 24-year-old IV drug user with multiple. So he should have given, say this was asked in NEET 2017, he should have given the option of painless, but definitely he thought we will go for this diagnosis. So he has given. So this is multiple vascular elements are there, pericytes are there. Okay, multiple bluish red nodules, painless nodules. So the diagnosis is, it is Kaposi sarcoma.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Why can't it be multiple hemangioma?
See, hemangiomas, the points against hemangiomas are hemangiomas, if they are appearing on the surface, they are usually blanchable, or the sign of they are usually compressible. Okay. And hemangiomas in this age, See, suppose if this were to be some 4-year-old child or 10 to 14-year-old person, so the age is again, it's going against the diagnosis and the histopathology. So along with these lesions, he has given the histopathological picture also. So the age is going against, and then history of IV drug abuse is there. Sometimes that could be even a confusing option, but typically with the vascular elements and the pericytes in a HIV, in a 20, young male, in a not so young, okay, 24-year-old male. So it is not 14 years or 10 years or 4 years. So the age, and then with the history of drug abuse, sometimes even by option of exclusion, we have to go for the diagnosis of Kaposi sarcoma. And it is not a transfusion related, okay. So it is typical IV drug abuser. Sometimes they might even give the option of a homosexual man with the following lesions and the histopathological picture. Is that okay? Are you convinced?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There is another tumor which you commonly see in your clinical practices. It is a dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans. So which are there are no MCQs rather asked. So we should not go in always in a MCQ pattern, because ultimately at the end of the day you're going to treat the patient. Okay. So MCQ is just a step to reach for your post graduation. So please always don't go in an MCQ fashion. Don't deviate from your noble doctoral route. Okay, there is another tumor called as dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans, which is most commonly seen on thigh, inguinal region, and also in the lower abdomen. It is a very slow growing sarcoma, usually spreads either by hematogenous route or lymphatic. Sometimes it can rarely take a regional lymphatic spread, usually inguinal lymphadenopathy. Sometimes you cannot differentiate. The specific feature is it causes early skin ulceration. So it is a very slow growing tumor. It is a painless tumor. Usually it excellently responds to your surgery. You can obtain wide excision. Sometimes if the regional lymph nodes are involved, you can clear those lymph nodes also. And the chemotherapeutic agents of choice in soft tissue sarcoma are doxorubicin is the most common chemotherapeutic agent used, and also adriamycin, vincristine, vinblastine, dacarbazine. So try to remember these four: doxorubicin, dacarbazine, vincristine, vinblastine, and adriamycin. But the main stay of therapy in soft tissue sarcoma is surgery. Okay, and if you ask me to summarize this entire topic in few words, I'll put like this: soft tissue sarcoma, though they are less common compared to the carcinomas, they are very aggressive, they are very ill-defined, painless, hard masses, they are aggressive, fast-growing, and they present very late, hematogenous metastasis, with few exceptions of lymphatic metastasis. There are different sarcomas depending on the tissue of origin, and then so the main investigation of choice is incision biopsy. Wide local excision is the usual preferred method, and depending on the histopathological thing, you have to clear either the compartment or go for amputation. Radiotherapy, there are certain radio-resistant, intermittent sensitive, radio-sensitive tumors, the chemotherapeutic agents, and then different gradings of the tumor, GTNM staging, and then surgical excision is the option of choice. And what are the most common sarcomas in different age groups and different populations? So I think I've done my part with this soft tissue sarcomas. Please go back immediately to your Sabiston. Please give a reading. Please note down certain points. I think if you have got any doubts, please get back to me.
Ma'am, can you explain that longitudinal incision and the shortest route possible again?
Okay. Very good. At least someone is thinking not in the MCQ point of view. See, suppose think that there is a lipoma here. What is the incision you are going to take? You are going to take transversely, because it is cosmetic and it heals well and it is in parallel line with the Langer's line. But in case of soft tissue sarcoma, your incision should be along the line of the limb. You have to think that this is going to come as sarcoma, and in future I am going to excise this tumor completely. But now, as of now, I need some biopsy. So if my future line of incision is this, my incision biopsy incision should be this. So wherever you are going to take your future incision, this should be along that line. So the present incision should be in line with the future incision. And that future incision should remove my previous scar. Ikkada scar ledu. So there is no scar here, there is no scar here. By giving incision here, you are going to give a scar to the patient for future. So if your future line of incision is this should be your incision biopsy line. Don't raise flaps. Use shortest pause. Suppose you see vertical. So if your specimen, so if your tumor is like this is the skin. Your needle should take the shortest route. So immediately you should be able to go. Because if you take a long route, suppose if I take this long route, skin is like this. If you take this long route, you are going to disseminate the tumor seeding. The high chance of tumor seeding will be there. So that's why, and the hemostasis will be very difficult to obtain. So shortest route, it is right under your eye. You can give pressure or you can take a suture bite. So the shortest possible route will help you to obtain certain proper hemostasis. So take the longitudinal incision, not a transverse one, and then in line with the future incision. And if you are planning, if the tumor bulk is here, take your incision here, not here. Okay, you need not go like this transversely or obliquely to reach the original tumor. So go directly you have to encounter the tumor. Is it, did you understand, doctor?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Why no drains? You can ask, madam, we remove even for fibroadenomas, even we keep drain. Why not for this, madam? Because the tumor seedling will be very high. So along the drain, you are going to seed the tumor along your drain side. So avoid drains, or rather we do not use drain either for incision or post-op excision also, unless you are absolutely clear about the margins. You usually avoid drains. And no cautery, because it's going to burn your tissue and many IHC markers will be missed. The pathologist will immediately come to you. Your specimen is roasted. So that's why don't use cautery. Okay, doctors, any further queries? Okay. Dr. Ramya, I think you can stop the recording.
Yes, Shruti. I'll stop the recording. Huh?
Okay.
Okay.
But people are free to ask me questions.
Meet on video.
No, I'm still here. I'm still with you. Okay. It's good that I felt very happy. People are going, even in the clinical point of view, not just MCQ oriented. I'm very happy. And I want you all to become a good doctor and treat the patient in a better, best way, best possible way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jyoti.
And feedbacks are, please get back to me with the feedbacks so that I can improvise further. I seek improvisation with each class. So please give your honest feedbacks. Any negative, please, I don't mind improvising myself. So